Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Soul Focused Radio. This is your host, Martin Friedman, and I'm so excited to be joined by one of our fabulous trainers and partners and collaborators, Dr. Stephanie Jupiter. How you doing, Dr. Stephanie?
I'm doing awesome. How are you?
I'm great. I'm doing really good today. We have a nice sunny day here in Florida. How's it doing over there in Texas?
Houston is bright and sunshine. We've had a lot of rain, so now
Mm,
it's time for the sun. The flowers are blooming. It's beautiful,
nice.
absolutely beautiful.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, it is. I believe you've been a Southern person your whole life. And as our listeners have heard, I've never lived in the South. So I'm experiencing the Southern summer, for the first time. So I'm looking forward to it. So far.
Yes. I actually lived in California for five
Okay.
years, so
Okay.
I have been a West Coaster
West Coaster
as
too.
well.
That's right. I think I
Yes.
remember you saying that you lived in Northern California, right?
Correct. San Francisco for 4 years, Los Angeles for one.
Okay. Nice, nice. So, we're going to jump in today, and just to let our listeners know, we often do these sort of intro podcasts. If you listen to one of our older podcasts, Dustin Washington, interviewed Dr. Stephanie around spiritual parenting, and though definitely going to be some overlap today. And what we're going to talk about today, we're going to get to know Dr. Stephanie just a little bit, and then we're going to jump into talking about the power codes, which is Dr. Stephanie's book, and not just a book, but a way of life, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Dr.
Very,
Stephanie?
very correct. Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Absolutely. So just tell us a little bit about yourself. With these podcasts, we oftentimes like to sort of say the what and the who. So tell
hmm
us a little bit of the what of Dr. Stephanie Jupiter.
For me, the what and the who it's very a thin line for me.
Mm.
You
Mhm.
know, I sometimes get them flip flopped
Nice.
because my goal is to live my truth.
Mm.
And so as I say what I am, the purity and the clarity of who I am is the
Mm.
purpose and the goal to kind of become one with the
Mm.
what and the who.
Mhm.
So on this journey in this lifetime, I have been really interested in my knowing who I truly am
Mhm.
and seeing the full magnification of who that is and bringing it to fruition on this planet Earth in this lifetime. So, in a nutshell, bringing heaven on earth. And the first business we started together when I was married to my D,
Mhm.
the Soul Focus Group CEO, we started a business called Heaven One. And
Mm.
the goal was to bring about the first heaven on earth that we were aware of. And we
Mm.
actually gave birth to our first child together, Heaven One.
Wow.
So it's kind of like it came to fruition, and the unfolding of what all that means is still unfolding. That's what makes it a beautiful journey. So I am on this journey of life, and
Mm.
my goal is to fully live it. So the what and the
Yes.
who I am. If I had to say something, I would say I'm a divine being
Mm.
experiencing life through a human body.
Mm.
And that would be my what.
That's beautiful. And, I have a tendency to go to linear places sometimes. And so I love that you gave a non-linear answer to that question, right? So
Okay.
thank you. I'm going to ask you, when did you feel like you were aware of that? When did you become aware in your life that you were an infinite being, having an experience as a human? When do you remember kind of knowing that, or when did that become most clear to you in your life, in this human form?
Clarity, it happens gradually. It happened gradually for me. I don't remember one moment of time, but
Right.
I can tell you that in the kindergarten days in school, when my mom dropped me off to my first day of kindergarten, I cried the whole first day
Mm.
because I didn't understand, like, why. my parents leaving me and dropping me in a place where I don't know anybody, right?
Right.
And it was no introduction. And so I cried. And so the next day, I knew they were going to bring me back there. So I had to get the strength and figure out a way to please myself and make myself happy and make this a fun thing.
Mm,
And so as I was asking myself how to transition, and I wasn't conscious of what I was doing, but I just knew that my desire to be happy was greater than my desire to be miserable as I
mm,
was that first day. And
mm.
so as I was, you know, contemplating and looking for guidance, this inner voice spoke to me very clearly and it started guiding me. And I was like, what is this? Right? Because
Mm,
I never heard adults really talk about their inner voice or inner
mm.
guidance.
Right.
So I became very curious about this because it just felt like a profound knowing. And I didn't know where it was coming from. So it became my discovery. It became my kindergarten, my playground. So
Mm,
as I was in kindergarten and all the way through up to school, the rest of, primary school, that carried me through the game of fully living through this intuitive voice.
wow. That's powerful. That's powerful. I remember around that same age, I think I was around 6 years old, and I remember asking my mom, why was I born me? You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Mm-hmm.
when I look back on it now, I kind of see that as the very beginning. I didn't have anything as profound as what you just said, but I just remember, and I went by Marty. That was my name. I mean, it's still my
Mm-hmm.
name. I said, Mom, why was I born Marty Friedman, at 6? And I remember her not being able to answer the question. And I just remember being really puzzled that she didn't know why I was born me, And
Mm.
when I look back on it now, I'm like, oh yeah, that it makes sense, right? That really was when my spirit was asking, like, well, like, what am I here for? Like, I know I came, for something. What did I come for? And that's I certainly didn't have consciousness of that terminology till honestly, through meeting my D and hearing my D introduce himself that way like 5, 6 years ago is when I even started to think about it. But when I look back on my life, I see moments like that where my spirit was sort of trying to remind me, to get back with my purpose. But I didn't have anything quite as profound as a voice, like you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Right. And we all know that voice is not like we're speaking right now. The
Right.
decibels are very low to
Right.
where you don't even hear it like a whisper, but it's
Mm-hmm.
just this inner knowing, like knowledge just implants directly into your mind, to
Mm-hmm.
your heart, your mind, and spirit. And
Mm-hmm.
like you said, at 5 years old, there's no way that I was conscious of what I was doing.
Right.
It was really just a plaything that turned into a way of life.
Right.
And the language started developing from there.
Right. That's good. So tell us a little bit more about yourself and then we'll jump into the power code. So tell us a little bit about, this life that you're living, as an infinite being in this human form. Tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do and stuff.
Okay. Originally from New Orleans,
Hmm.
Louisiana, lived there all the way through undergraduate school, finished from Xavier University in pre-med, then jumped from there to podiatry school. Is then
Mm,
my journey to California began in San Francisco.
mm,
And as I maneuvered through life, that intuitive voice guided
mhm,
me the whole way.
mm,
All of my decisions were based from what that voice said.
wow.
And so now, what I do, had several businesses. My first business, as far as the intuitive business,
Hmm.
was called Soul University, SOL University,
Mm,
Science of Life University. And I paired it with my podiatry practice, which was called Soul Butterfly Foot Care Center and Healing Temple.
wow.
It was the educational piece to match the medical piece because I always was keen on knowledge of self. So if I was to assist patients with healing themselves, I knew that they had to link to a knowledge of self.
Right.
And so Soul University merged with Soul Butterfly Foot Care Center or podiatry, and that my journey continued there in adulthood. So I still have Soul School. Now it's called Soul School, and it transformed to Soul Book. And
Mm.
Soul Book is just like the sun. It's spelled SOL for the sun,
Right.
which represents power, that hidden power that we forget we have.
Mm.
Like we all have our own source of power, our own sun.
Mm.
And Soul Book is designed to assist all creators, all artists, with using their unique voice to be powerful in the world. And so we assist everyone who's interested with writing their own soul book so that they can use that as the manual to how to maneuver in this world without getting lost.
Right. Without, you said, without getting lost.
Without getting lost, because you know how
Mm.
that old saying, you can be in the world but not of the world.
Mm. Yes.
Knowing your uniqueness, your unique purpose, so that you don't get lost and forget who you are through that distraction.
And yeah, in my experience is most of us are, at least in part of our lives, large portions of our lives, for many of us, we absolutely are lost, I think, and have lost that soul purpose. I love all the different meanings of soul, all the different spellings and meanings,
Mm-hmm.
that you're related to, you know what I mean? Directly, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yes.
the sole of the feet, the SOLE meaning the one, right? The
The-
SOL meaning the sun. I mean, it's just incredible. It's really
ye-
just had me thinking about this right now for the first time.
oh yeah, I'm surrounded by the language of soul.
Mm.
Yes, and
And
that's my journey. That's the ride.
that's the ride, all the different kinds of soul.
Yes.
And it's so foundational, I mean, the sole of the foot is so foundational for us. And if
Mm.
your feet aren't right, the rest of you is definitely not right. I was telling you right before we came on that I bought a pair of shoes that are probably the best, one of the best shoes I could probably get for my feet. And they don't look exactly how I want them to look, but that I made that choice, because I think, I've made the decision in all ways to nurture my foundation more than I ever have in my life.
Mm.
And so I think that just thinking about the comfort of our feet and the health of our feet being so foundational to the rest of our bodies.
Exactly. My patients would always say, when their feet hurt, their heart hurts.
Mm.
And
Hmm.
I found that so profound, like the connection. So, like you said, you chose function over fashion, right?
I did.
I
Not,
love
not, not that I've ever been, like accused of being like a fashion plate or anything like that. I don't know, for our younger
that.
listeners, I don't know if you ever fashion plate before, but I don't know that I've never really been accused of that. But I definitely like to, I've chosen to kind of look somewhat sharp these days. And these aren't those shoes, but they're all right. They're not your grandfather. Maybe they are your grandfather's shoes. I don't know. But yes, it was a hard choice. I'm not gonna lie. I spent 10 minutes agonizing over form, and I wasn't even thinking about the fact that I was about to have a podcast with a podiatrist either. So I'm really glad I made the choice that I made.
That's right. See, you intuitively knew.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about that. You were saying before we started that that this idea of choosing, form over function, or excuse me, function over form, directly relates to the power code. So let's jump into that a little bit, and let's talk a little bit about that relate, and just start off by just telling us what the power codes are.
Okay. The Power Codes, the subtitle of the book is called The Language and Habits of the Most Powerful People on the Planet.
Mm.
So, in my research and study, when I actually sat down and wrote this book, I was in a crossroads moments in my life. We had got here from Hurricane Katrina
Hmm.
in 2005. I had my first child 2 weeks later,
Hmm.
and then a second child, all. And then after all, right before she made two, going through a divorce.
Hmm.
And when we moved to Houston from New Orleans, being pregnant with my first child and not having a practice in Houston, and my practice in New Orleans was all family ran, and I didn't have family in Houston. So I decided that I would just go full time
Hmm.
with a business we had at the time called Relationship Fitness, which
Hmm.
is all these businesses are designed to filter who I am through, right? It's a
Hmm.
creative outlet to express myself fully. So after the divorce, being in the financial crunch, right?
Right.
So have a house, have two children, bunch of student loans, right? A
Hmm.
lot of debt.
Right.
So, money from Katrina, you can only go so far on insurance money, right? And a new business money. So I decided to go right back into podiatry.
Right.
And during that time, just looking at what I was going through on the outside, people were feeling sorry for me, right? And
Right.
so I had no feelings of that myself, but didn't really know how to express that to the world. Like, this is all beautiful. It may look like, a conditioning around, oh, that's the worst things, divorce, you know, not having a job, being in debt, right?
Right. Right.
It looked terrible. For
Hmm.
me, I saw it as an opportunity to grow and show what I'm made of, show my strength. Now I get to use the tools that I've been working on, right?
Hmm.
And so I sat down and wrote the power codes as how to use those tools. And in a nutshell, spoiler alert, the language and habits of the most powerful people on the planet is the language of self love.
Hmm.
And so, even though self love is a term that's thrown around for years and years, I found that many of us really had no clue of what that meant.
Right.
I would ask people, do you love yourself?
Hmm.
That's a question if you would, when you came to my office and you filled out your medical exam history form,
Right.
one of the first questions on there was, do you love yourself?
Hmm.
And
Wow.
then I would ask, well, what evidence in your life, if you say you love yourself, shows that you love yourself? So what proof in your life that you have? And so I would have them write that down. And that gave me an insight on how to talk to my patients. So back to the language of the most powerful people on the planet, self-love, seeing that history of people really not aware of what that means. Because to me, proof that you love yourself is knowledge of self.
Right.
You know that saying that knowledge is power?
Right. Yes.
For me, knowledge of self is power.
Hmm.
And I go further and say knowledge of anything else is powerlessness.
Hmm.
Because to me, that's a distraction.
Okay.
If I'm here to fully express me in all of my unique self, what I need to know about anything else for?
Hmm.
That other stuff get in the way.
Hmm.
And so self-love to me is linking it with the drive, the commitment, the inspiration, the fire to want
Right.
to know about you, to have a desire for you every moment. That's self-love. So if you look at it backwards, it says love self. So
Hmm.
you have to know who self is, right?
Right. That's right.
Because you could be loving everything else but self. And so that's where intuition plays a big role because I'm not able to tell you, Martin, who you are.
Right.
That's something you have to intuit for yourself. And the way I would get people to just to reorientate to that concept of uniqueness is I would ask, Martin, my inner voice talking to me right now. Do you hear it? Do you hear my inner voice?
Do I hear your inner voice?
Do you hear my inner voice?
I mean, it's funny because I feel like I do, but then I also feel like it's a trick question, because I feel like I don't think I can hear your inner voice, but what I feel like is I can hear the manifestation of your inner voice through what you're saying to me. So that's probably how I would answer that question.
There you go. So
Okay.
it's not a trick question, but it's
Okay.
something that we really don't take the time to go deeper into and see how powerful this unique voice is, right?
Right.
So if we really, you know, sit back and reflect, no, you don't, it's no way you could hear my inner voice because
Hmm.
it's not even designed for you to hear it, right? It's
Right.
not even a whisper, remember that?
Right. That's
In,
right.
in, in the way the universe designed it is, you don't need to hear it because it's instructions for me,
Right.
right? So that's why it's so secret. And that's why you're not able to hear it.
Right.
But that is the frequency of the channel that those who love themselves and speak the most powerful language on the planet, they tap into that channel, that
Hmm.
frequency, their unique frequency,
Right.
right? Because everything vibrates, everything's on the frequency. So I don't even try to hear your unique voice, Martin.
Right.
I can only, like you said, you can kind of get a sense of what my unique voice is saying by what I'm telling you with my physical mouth and my bodily actions, right?
Right.
But any other than that, you'd have to guess. And then even what I'm telling you, you still have to guess because you don't know if I'm being authentic or not.
Right. I think, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. And then I think what it feels like to me, the way I answered that question is that what I might be seeing and feeling is evidence of you hearing your inner voice, right? Like, because, I can feel your vibrations and your vibrations feel different to me than a lot of other people, even as we're speaking, right?
Right,
You vibrate differently than a lot of other people that I talk to because I think of how much you listen, how intuitive you are and how much you listen to your inner voice. That's what I think you would impact me. You're not going to impact me by saying, "Hey, here, come and listen to my inner voice." But I think the impact that you have on me is that I can feel, your vibration at a different level than a lot of other human beings right now who aren't really listening to their inner voice.
got it. I get exactly what you're saying
Hmm.
because there is another part of that answer that we are one,
Right.
right? So
Right.
if you're listening to your intuitive voice, right, we kind of on the same frequency channel now.
Right.
So we can tap into the divine information of the oneness.
Right.
However, still, when it's channeled through my physical,
Hmm.
only I can hear it.
Right. I got you.
Because remember, we're 99.99% alike.
Right. That's
That's our
right.
DNA shows that. That 0.01%,
Yep.
that's what's filtering through me. And that keeps us valuable. That keeps us
Mhm.
a hot commodity on this planet, right?
Right.
Because otherwise there wouldn't be no thing as uniqueness and, you know, a job to do on this planet Earth. If me and you came to do the same thing, then somebody would be a waste. You could say, "Oh, Stephanie gonna take care of it, so I don't
Right.
have to do it." So you could just continue to just be lazy, or vice versa for me. I say Martin could do it, so I
You,
don't have to do it. But no, each of us came on this planet Earth to do something that no one else can do, and that is designed to keep us not from being lazy. We have to get up off our butts and do what we came here to do. If the planet or the environment, our relationship suffering, we have to take full responsibility for our contribution to that.
hmm. You know what's fascinating to me, Dr. Stephanie, this is really fascinating, is so, you talk about the 99.99 that we're the same, right? And
Mm-hmm.
point out that point oh 0.01 as being this beautiful and brilliant gift that is our uniqueness. And being a trainer and teacher, and student of how anti-racism, or now we say return to human solidarity and ending racism. We talk about all the time about the 99.98 or 99.99% that we're the same, and that 0.02 or 0.01% that we're different has been used to oppress people, because that's where that a lot of the phenotype would lie, right? So on
Mm-hmm.
a physical sense, so you're pointing out that uniqueness in a positive way, and you're saying that 0.01 is what makes us unique and gives us our own special journey that nobody can duplicate. And it's just really hitting me, because that same percentage has also been used to divide, separate, and oppress us based on skin color, hair texture, and facial features as well.
Exactly. Exactly. It definitely has been used in a way, when people use it in that way,
Hmm.
it's just a sign, like you said, there's evidence. It's a sign that they're not appreciating and accepting of their own uniqueness.
Right,
Like they say, hurt people hurt people.
right.
They're hurting inside because if you're not intuiting who you are, and there's doubt, there's self-doubt.
Mm,
If you don't know who you are, you know, you're a hazard to society.
I mean, and that, I think what's fascinating about that is that that's what this tiny group of people, which is probably the 0.01% themselves, is they're manipulating us by our skin color, hair texture, and facial features to have self-doubt. And that's all of us too. I mean, those of us that have been racialized as white. There's one of my old mentors in this work used to say that once you become racialized, you become dehumanized, right? That it's the racialization process is a process of dehumanizing. And I think the way you just put it, I think another way of saying that is that it starts to bring us doubts, because it's not true. Like that part is like a made up part, that our skin color, hair texture, and facial features should have any bearing on our standing in society. I hear you saying that what we should be focusing on is the brilliance and the beauty of that uniqueness, but instead that has been like perverted to have us, doubt ourselves and disconnect from our true selves.
Exactly. Because see,
Mm,
that small percent of difference is actually our connection. It's our piece to the whole oneness. It's the piece that we have chosen to be responsible for and
wow.
sharing with the one. And we
Mm,
say PIECE, but when we take care of that piece, we also get PEACE.
right. And that's powerful, and that's the knowing, right? And that's what so
That's the
many of us
knowing.
so many of us don't know ourselves. And part of the reason why we don't know ourselves is because we've defined ourselves by these external disempowering characteristics that have been assigned to us that aren't actually true. They're not even really real, but we have come to believe they're real, right? Because of these constant messages. That's, when we talk about race, gender, identity, class, geography, culture, all that stuff, that's all the things that keep us from truly knowing self.
Exactly. And,
Mm,
I like to say knowing because it's an ongoing journey.
right.
So, like, I knew something about myself yesterday, but I know something different today, and I'm
Mhm.
still knowing. I'm in the process. So I don't want people to get confused that, you wake up and you just know yourself and the journey
Right.
ends. The journey's over, ding ding. No, as long as you still have breath, you're still learning. But that's your protection as you continue to be in that knowing space, right?
Hmm.
You in peace, you connecting to your oneness because there's more layers to keep unfolding because who we truly are is really hidden.
Mm.
And just to give, idea, and I see how when if we tap into it at a child's age, It becomes like a game, right, that
Mm.
we're playing. And so now, even today, I'm writing a book called The Game of Fully Living, right,
Right.
for myself to see how all the pieces work and to share with people how some strategies
Right.
to the art and practice of inner peace, right?
Hmm.
And so when you really understand how, when you get to a certain layer of a knowing discovery,
Hmm.
you do tap into, and I think I read a book a while back. It was called The Game of Life by Florence Shiven, I believe.
Hmm.
And she gave some tools and made it very interesting, right? And just that language alone showed me, it's like, yes, that's what this is made. Gotta, because life is meant to be enjoyed. You gotta have fun.
Hmm.
And so as you tap into this, you see that you, as the divine self,
Hmm.
created this game so that you can see yourself, because as your divine self, you're really all knowing, all powerful, right?
Hmm.
And omnipresent. You're everywhere.
Right.
However, there was one piece in the desire you had, and that was to experience yourself.
Hmm.
Because there was an aspect that of us that was not present, and we could not see ourselves because we didn't have the physicalness, right? We couldn't touch ourselves
Right. Right.
and experience ourselves in that way. So we created this game called the game of fully living.
Mm.
And, however, it's an unfolding piece because this human is not able to withstand all the power of the one. No
Right.
one human being can hold all that power. So that's why we separated the job,
Mm.
so that you, Martin,
Hmm.
Dustin, and the listeners on this call experience some of that divine, and we share that experience in our divine frequency space.
Right.
And that's how I know. So, like you said, go back to, can you hear my inner voice? And you like, I don't want to say no because I'm picking up something, right?
Right. Exactly.
And I
Exactly.
love that. And that's definitely telling me, where you are in your intuitive space, right? Because
Mm.
there's really no wrong or right answers.
All right, listeners. So, as you could probably tell, Dr. Stephanie had some technical difficulties with her microphone. And it was just getting good, right? It was just getting good. Well, the whole thing was good. It's been fascinating for me to have this conversation with Dr. Stephanie. I think this is an incredible conversation. We're definitely going to keep this going for at least 2 or 3 more sessions where we talk about the power codes. So thank you so much for being with us. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. You can see that Dr. Stephanie, as part of our team, is such an asset. With the energy and the vibrations that she brings and the perspective that she brings. So we're excited to keep this conversation going. Thank you so much for joining us. Know that we love you. We care about you. We're excited to have you on this journey. Please go to soulfocusgroup.com and check out everything we have going on. Just be on this journey with us. Check out our podcast. We're going to now have some podcasts that you'll only get if you sign up on our website. So look for that. That's coming soon. And yeah, we just ask that all of you that you stay safe, you stay well, you stay connected, you stay loving yourself, and most importantly, most of all, we ask that you stay soul focused.